Thanks, everybody. You proactive homeowners, you. I'm a realtor and transition specialist with Keller Williams Bay Area Estates in Los Gatos and in Saratoga. And I've been realtor for 20 years now. Painted myself into a little corner. I just help retirees get to retirement communities. I help them make the best decisions for their future. And so, we all go through transitions in life, right? And, in our early 20s to 40s, everything's great. You just finished school, you got married, you had kids, you have your new career happening, you get a house, you're focused, you're busy, you're healthy, you're active, nothing hurts yet, right? And then you make the transition to the second stage of your life, which is your 40s and your 40 to 60. Kids are in college or they're at home like mine. So yeah, I'm sure you're seeing some of this as well. You've got your stable career, you're traveling now, right? As you approach your 50s and 60s, probably your second house, maybe you're downsizing, you're maybe thinking about some retirement planning, 60, 65, 70, and things are starting to hurt. You're still active, but you're like, what was that, right? So there's a transition. And now your third transition where the rubber kind of hits the road, right? So you're 60 to 80, and there's a lot that happens between 60 and 80. Um, you're empty nesting, you're downsizing, you're actually now thinking more about retirement. You're thinking more about your parents. What are you going to do for your parents? Are they going to stay in their home? Are they going to go to a retirement community? And I think at this stage in your life, you're going to start envisioning your future. Like, how is it going to play out? And you should have a plan. And we're going to talk about that today as far as introspection, right? How do I want it to play out? And then the final chapter should be the best chapter of your life, right? 80 to 100, 105, 110, 120. So who knows what's going to happen in the future? But at this stage, you're traveling less, you're needing a little bit of assistance, and you should start asking yourself, am I going to stay in my home, age in place within home care, or am I going to age at a retirement community? And am I independent living right now, or am I assisted living? And we don't want you to wait too long. But so what happens is I wear a lot of different hats and I come in contact with people about this age, right around 70, 75, approaching 80. And you should be thinking to yourself at this point, should I stay in my home within home care, or should I make a transition to a retirement community? So I deal with lots of transitions, wear a lot of hats. The first hat I wear is really a kind of a concierge or a consultant, sort of your friend, right? I'm going to come over. We're going to do some evaluation of where you currently stand in your home ownership. We're going to kind of envision how you see your life playing out. So I'm sort of a friend and a fortune teller. And then I switch hats and we talk and we educate you. And we educate you on the differences or the pros and cons of remaining in your home, aging in place within home care services, or making that transition to a retirement community. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about where you actually want to go. Do you want to stay in this area? Do you want to leave the area? So there's a whole where aspect to it. So I'm a travel agent, and if you are going to a community, I have to put my Sherpa hat on, because if you go into Mount Everest, you need somebody that's been there, done that. It's not just a typical real estate transaction. So I put my Sherpa hat on and tell you, I've been there hundreds of times and I know how to navigate the mountain. And then finally, I'm a pilot, I'm a realtor, and that's what I do. And so I put together a flight plan for you that spells out every single possible thing that's going to happen in your destination. So what I've done is I've created this website. It's called stayOrGoHomeowner.com, and it just simply asks you who you are. I might want to go, right? I'm not sure. That's why you're here today. Where would I go? And then I'm ready to go. And if you don't know anything and you're just starting your journey, there's a big start here button right on the website that if you have no idea, you're going to start there and you're going to download the Stay or Go workbook. This is a workbook. It's not too big, but it'll you can print it out yourself, and it has these self-evaluation exercises, and we're going to go through that a little bit today so you'll know how to fill that out. Then we're going to talk about your vision of the future. It's an exercise, right? It's a postcard from the future. And then I'll give you in the manual, there'll be a bunch of webinar links where you can go and educate yourself. And then there's prioritization grids because I know you might have a list of things, let's say 10 things, and you really, really need to know the exact number one priority, number two, number three. That could be where you're going to live, right? What's your priorities? Is it heat, cold, demographics? You have this big list of things that are important to you when you're trying to find a new place to live. And these prioritization grid exercises will help you truly prioritize yourself. And you might be thinking of going to a retirement community. Well, what's the most important thing when you're thinking about going to a retirement community? I know somebody that lives there. The food is great, lots of activities, a picturesque campus, whatever it might be. And you'll put that in there and it'll help you as you go through this, prioritize those lists. And the ultimate goal of this is really to break your paralysis of analysis. And that's what I get a lot of when working with seniors engineers. They're thinking about so many different things that they get the paralysis of analysis. Then they don't do something because it's just too overwhelming. And then they've waited too long and then they have no more options. So that's it. So download that. And so I know you're contemplating a transition. And that's why you're here. And I know that it's scary and it's weird and it's time consuming and it's really expensive to sell your home. And you've got the kids saying one thing and the other kids saying the other thing. And I've got friends that are going to the retirement community saying it's great over here. And somebody else says, I've got a great in-home care person over here. And, you're trying to decide what to do. And it just kind of seems easier just if we just leave it alone and just stay put, right? But we've got to break your paralysis of analysis. We've got to get you to at least 51%. 51%, either you're staying or you're going, but you need to make a decision at this age, right? In this transition of your life. And we want that last transition to be the best transition. The most wonderful time of your life should be the final part of your, the last chapter of your life. So I want to tell you that making wise decisions, and like I said, my purpose is to help you make the best decisions for your future, whether you're staying or whether you're going. But the longer you take to make those decisions, the one wrong decision can really sabotage your vision of the future, right? If you wait too long to do that. And the number one goal in life is to not outlive your funds. And you have to guarantee that. You don't want to gamble. You want to be sure. So that you're not depending on kids or whoever. Okay. So here's our agenda for today. First, we're going to talk about those decisions, and we're going to actually talk about the two most important decisions because I'm going to narrow it down for you. I'm going to hopefully make this easy for you so that when you're done with this webinar or when you're done with that workbook, you're going to know I'm staying or I'm going. So there's the two most important decisions. Then we need to really talk about your present and your future, and they're linked. And you can talk about your future first or your present first, but you've got to know where you are and where you're going so that you can put a plan together to work backwards from where you're going and make sure you get there. And then finally, in the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you some thought-provoking questions. And I think I can get this done in about 30 to 40 minutes. So hang in there. You're doing great so far. And I want to just tell you a quick little story about decisions and making decisions, the wrong decision too late in life. My dad, firsthand, he was living at the Villages, the 55 plus community over there in Evergreen. And he was living there. He was loving life. He didn't have a mortgage. He didn't have a car payment. He was saving money. He was working at the guard shack, getting free golf. Everything's fine. And then my half sisters tell him, hey, Dad, we moved to Texas. It's great out here. You can buy a home for $250,000 and it'll just be wonderful. And you'll be near us and we'll take care of you and all of that. And so he calls me and says, hey, Brian, I'm moving to Texas. I'm going to sell my house. I said, no, you're not. You're not moving to Texas. You're not following the kids, right? That's number one rule. Don't follow the kids until they're old enough to not keep moving. So he does what I told him not to do. He sells his house. He goes out to Texas, gets a 30-year mortgage at 75 years old, a $250,000 house, and they're building lots of houses around there. So his property value is going down. And then my sisters say, we're tired of Texas. We're going to go back to California. and they left him there, and he sold his home for a loss, and now he's going to rent for the rest of his life. So I don't want to get too down and depressed and everything, but see how that decision, now he can't go back to work because he's 75, and now he's going to rent for the rest of his life, and just one bad decision can really mess you up. So what are the decisions that you're going to have to make? Okay, so I put them in 4 buckets here. The first decision is, are you staying in your home and aging in place? And should you upgrade that home or just leave it as is? Right? Should you make it safer? Should you get a reverse mortgage so that you don't have that cash flow issue anymore? Are you going to ask your kids to support you? Are they ready, willing, and able to support you in your in-home care needs as you get older? I mean, they're probably in their 50s and 60s. They're probably still working, probably still have kids. Or are you going to utilize in-home care services, which are completely overwhelmed right now? It's the largest franchise in the United States right now is in-home care, because we've got baby boomers. 10,000 of them every day are turning 65 for the next 20 years. That's a lot of baby boomers, and they're needing a lot of services. And these companies are overwhelmed. They have high turnover rates, and you're not guaranteed you're going to get somebody every day. It's going to be the same person, and all the safety issues and things like that. Or are you going to move in with your friends and family, or are you going to have them move in with you? And that doesn't sound too great. But these are decisions that I usually talk with my clients about, because I'm a transition specialist, and we get down and dirty and we talk about all of these things. The next bucket of decisions you'll need to make is, well, maybe I'm going to transition to a smaller home, maybe a better home, or maybe I'll relocate out of the area to a less expensive area. And how will you even find which area that is that has the right temperature, the right demographic, the right crime rate, the right everything? You're not going to follow your kids, right? Are you going to maybe relocate to your vacation home or your rental home in Tahoe? Are you going to transfer your current property taxes? If you stay in California, you can transfer your old Prop 13 um, property taxes over to another home. You can do that 3 times. And are you going to downsize, or are you going to leave all that to the kids? And no one wants to do that, and you got to do it sooner or later. Even the downsizer has to do it. Here's another bucket of decisions you might need to make is, which community am I going to? Which is the right community for me and my lifestyle? Because all of these communities, they're apples and oranges. And I'll tell you firsthand, you should go look at them all. And you should find ones that vibe with you. And will you be able to actually afford that community? Do you need to go month to month, or do you do a buy-in? Are you going to hire a professional certified financial planner to help you figure out if you can afford this, or are you going to do it yourself? And will you need a bridge loan or a home equity line of credit to do those things? Finally, the last set of decisions you're going to need to make is, what do you do with your home? Do you sell it for a cash out, or do you rent it for a cash flow? And what are the pros and cons and consequences of that? On your investment properties, do you do a 1031 tax exchange, right? So that you can transfer those capital gains taxes? Do you get or review your living trust? Do you use a full service realtor, one of those discount realtors, to try and save a buck? And also, you're going to think about, are you going to occupy that home while it's on the market, or are you going to vacate? And how do you do that with some creative financing? And I know you guys are all feeling like this right now. Don't worry. My goal is to reduce your stress. I've been through this hundreds and hundreds of times, and I've got solutions for all of this. And it's just a matter of getting together and having a powwow and talk about it. So I'm going to break it down to the 2 most important decisions you're going to need to make. And we already kind of talked about it. All sorts of different creative ideas of remaining in your home or not going to a retirement community, right? So, but you have to think about, can you financially and physically stay in that home? Maybe you downsize to a smaller home, or you go out of the area. Maybe you remodel your home, or you buy a home that's already remodeled. And all of these ideas, and I've heard so many ideas over the years of people saying, I'm not going to a retirement community. I'm going to find some other way that I don't have to go. But that bucket of decisions is all staying, right? You're staying in your home or some other home, aging in place within home care. you're transitioning to a continuing care retirement community. So I've just broken that down into you only have two choices. So, how do we make the best decisions for our future, right? And some people would make it sound really simple. Well, you just gather a bunch of data, you seek counsel, you weigh the options, and you decide. And sometimes it's not that easy, and you have this agony, and it's the indecision that's actually causing the agony, not the decision itself. Because once you make the decision and you're 51% on that side of the fence, then the agony goes away and you have a plan and you know your future and you just move on, right? So, what I like to do is I like to use a decision making method called the ideal future decision making method. Okay. What you do is when you have a choice A, choice B, you ask yourself, does this decision point me in the direction of my ideal future? And you might say to yourself, well, here comes a question. I have choice A. It makes sense today because I don't have this plan for my future. So I'm going to choose choice A. And that's what my dad did. He just chose choice A. He didn't think about his future. So when you tell somebody, I'm going to make choice B right now, and they're like, what are you talking about? You make choice B. Well, I have a plan for my future, right? I have the ideal vision of where I want to go. And it takes a long time to turn an aircraft carrier, but slowly but surely, you're going to start heading in that direction and you're going to end up where you wanted to end up. Okay. So that's how you make a decision, right? But now we need to talk about the beginning and the end, the present and the future. Okay, so let's go there. And where are you now? Some of you are like, I don't know where I am now, right? Well, I'm talking about where are you in your home, in your homeowner situation, right? Where are you now? And when you go to the mall and you see the kiosk, well, I like to know where I am first. The first thing I do is, where's that arrow? Where am I? My wife's like, I'm going to Nordstrom's. So that's where I'm going. And then I'll figure out where I am. So you can figure this out in either way you want. But for this presentation, I'm going to say, I want you to know where you are first. Okay. So we're going to do self-evaluation Jeopardy. So what I want you to do is, you need to evaluate where you currently stand in your home ownership in 5 different categories. And the 5 categories are today your finances, your health, your personal support network, right? Your trust and estate and your will and things like that, and your real estate. So there's our 5 categories for today. And the things you need to think about in the area of your finances are your cash flow. Are you cash flow negative, cash flow neutral, cash flow positive? Very, very important, right? What your net worth is, everything, your combined net worth, all your investments, all your inheritances, your home, your value of your home, the equity you have in your home. We're going to subtract any mortgage that you may have, or home equity line of credit, or a reverse mortgage. We're going to talk about those nasty capital gains taxes. And ultimately, you want to get a financial plan so that you can see that you will not outlive your funds. Now, the next category we need to be thinking about is your health. Are you staying healthy? Are you staying social? Are you emotional well-being? Are you anxious? Are you okay? Are you confident? Do you have clarity, certainty, and confidence? Do you have mobility issues, or does a co-owner have mobility issues? Do you have health insurance, and do you have long-term care insurance? Has a co-owner passed away, or you think a co-owner might be passing away? And have you thought about in-home care? And that kind of relates to the financial plan too, right? Can I afford in-home care? The next thing is your personal support network, people who are ready, willing, and able to take care of you. The first thing is your vision of the future. Do you have siblings, relatives, kids, grandkids, friends, and neighbors who can take care of you? Do you have, is your home safe? Do you have siblings or any of these people I've talked about in other areas? And have you really thought about going to a retirement community? I'm sure you have because you're here, but have you visited them? Have you given them a run for their money? Have you investigated the costs and the food and the know people there and gone to events and things like that? And also, this relates right back to financial planning. Can you afford in-home care or the retirement community? The next category is your trust and your will. Do you have just a will, or do you trust? Do you have a power of attorney, a healthcare directive? Have you been divorced? Is this your second marriage? Are there different sorts of beneficiaries and trustees? Do you know how to avoid probate if someone should pass, and if you're holding title correctly? And that's a huge thing, is if you're holding title correctly, whether you're in a trust or not. Lastly, on your real estate category, you've got your maintenance. You love doing all the maintenance and the repairs. Have you made your home safer? Right? Because there's a 65% of the people are falling and they're having accidents, and those are very, very costly, which might dig into your financial plan. Aging in place, investment properties, you're going to sell them, you're going to keep them, you're going to rent them out, or you're downsizing. The best home preparation, right? What do we really need to do to that home and what we don't need to do to the home to sell it? And I would just say, get with me or some other transition specialist or realtor who knows the Sherpa, right? We're the Sherpa. We've been in there, done that, and we can talk to you about all of this stuff. Now, here you are again. I know it's a lot to think about, but what I'm going to do is help you, and that's what this StairGo workbook is. And these are the exercises in the StairGo workbook. So we're going to ask you 6 questions in those 5 categories. The 6 questions, every time you answer yes, your score goes up, right? So in this case, in the exercise, I know exactly what my monthly income is and what my expenses are. Yes. I am cash flow positive every month for a maintenance and emergencies and all that kind of thing. No, your money is in the home. Your house rich, cash poor. So do you have an adequate investment portfolio? Yes, you do, but a lot of the funds are wrapped up in the home. Do I have long-term care insurance? No. Can I afford to pay for skilled nursing or in-home care? Now these are low numbers, 6,000 to 12,000 a month. These are actually low numbers. It could be upwards of $20,000 a month if you're having in-home care around the clock. And then, do I have that formal financial plan that spells out my future? A lot of people don't have that plan. And so in this case, for example, this person scored 2 yeses, so they're a little low on their finances. But when we move to the next category is your physical health, right? Will my health remain the same for the next 5 to 10 years? So you could take pictures of this if you want, or you can just download the workbook. But you can take pictures of this and start asking yourself these questions, right? I keep my mind and body active. I have a great social life and stimulating experiences. I drive myself wherever I need to go, and I love driving. I'm eating healthy, right? I can relocate to a different area without ties to my doctor. So add up the number of times you said yes, give yourself an evaluation, and we're going to move over to your personal support network, the people who are ready, willing, and able to take care of you. So does someone live with you? Does your family live near you? Do you have local friends and family and neighbors who will care for you? Am I happy with my current living situation? And I can relocate without ties to friends, groups, family, hobbies, things like that. Give yourself a self-evaluation. Almost done. We're talking about your trust and estate. Do you have a trust or just a will? Because if you just have a will and you have a home, that's dangerous. You need to have your home in your trust. I mean, I'm telling you, if there's one thing if you get from this, if you're a single person and you don't have a trust and you have a home, you're going to go into probate should something happen, and then everything's going to be tied up for months and months and months, and no one can do anything on your behalf. So I want you to get that trust. It's worth its weight in gold. Review it every 5 years if you do have it. Make sure you're holding title correctly inside of your trust, community property with rights of survivorship. I know what to do when a co-owner passes away. I know I'll avoid probate, and I have a list of home upgrades and the cost of each of those upgrades so that I can get the biggest bang for my buck when it comes to capital gains taxes. Okay, so these are all very important things. You might want to, like I said, take a picture of the screen and give yourself a self-evaluation. Finally, the last bucket is my home in good condition? Have I remodeled it, and do I love it? Can I afford to maintain it? Is it safe? Is it in a friendly neighborhood? Has the neighborhood changed a little bit and it's not the same community anymore? Does your home suit your lifestyle, or is it a 5-bedroom, 3-car garage, pool in the backyard, 2-story home? And is it safe, and does it have a downstairs bedroom and full bath? That's a huge question for you to maintain aging in place. So once you have your scores, then you're going to plot them on this graph, and it's all in the book, and you will see where you are flat, where you're doing well, and you'll see some imbalances, and I can help you with those imbalances, but at least you'll know. exactly where you stand. Maybe if I sold the home, I wouldn't have finance problems anymore. Maybe if I moved somewhere else, I could have more support from my friends and family and neighbors. So we're going to figure this out together. Okay. So I think at this point, if you go through those exercises, you'll know where you are. And that's my first thing at the mall. I want to know where I am. And now it's time to decide where you're going to be going, or just what's your vision of the future, right? How do you see your life playing out? And there's a verse in the Bible that says, where there is no vision, the people perish, right? We need that vision. And so what I did was about 10, maybe even 15 years ago, I read this book. The book changed my life completely. It's called The Joy of Strategy, a business plan for your life. And businesses have business plans so that they have longevity and so that they don't go out of business. They don't outlive their funds. And in a business plan for a business, you've got your mission and your plan and your financials and your culture and your operations and how that business is working. But it's more important to have a business plan for your life, right? And I know this is hard to think about, like, how do I really want it to play out? Everything's fine. Just leave me alone. Just stop testing me and stop telling me all of these things I need to be thinking about. But you do actually need to be thinking about it. You need to get motivated and organized so that you can have the best part of your life coming up in the next chapter. So in the book, there are like 8 different exercises that you do, but the one that really resonated with me was the postcard from the future. And it just played right into what I tell people anyway. And so what it is it wants to take into consideration all the things that you really care about, all the things that are really important to you, right? The people, the places, your security, your safety, your health, your freedom, all of those different things. You want to put that into your plan, right? Those are very important things to you. Now, here's what else you put in the plan. You put all of the things that bring you joy, right? When am I at my best, right? And that is going to give us a roadmap of, I want this, I want that in my life. And the next thing is, what don't you want in your life anymore? Okay. Now you have to bring your co-owner with you, but there are things that, don't bring us joy, and you want to eliminate those things because we do want the best chapter of our lives going forward, and we're going to write this out. And so we want to say, what's good, what's bad. And also, if I didn't have to worry about anything, if I didn't have to worry about money or people or houses or cars or my health, I had zero responsibilities whatsoever, how would I spend my time, right? So here's some ideas for you. Just for example, some things you might want more of in your life, right? Friendly neighborhoods, because maybe your neighborhood has changed. You want to read more. You want to take classes. You want to go to church. You want to exercise more. You want to volunteer. You want to do gardening. All of these different things. So get yourself a piece of paper, and it's also in the workbook. It prompts you through all of this, and you're going to start writing out bullet points of what you want more of, and then you're going to write less of, like barking dogs and squawking birds and babies crying, and the neighborhood that you don't like, and security. And I don't want to cook as much, and I don't want people coming to my door and selling me things. So start writing all these things down, start thinking about them, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to write this postcard from the future, right? And I wrote mine, and I showed it to my wife, and I'm like, look at all the things. Look at my postcard from the future. And she's like, well, that's good, but I don't want, what's that? Why? And then also, if there's things on there that are like low hanging fruit, then go out and get them, right? I wanted a motorcycle. It was on my postcard from the future. And I thought, why am I waiting? Why don't I just do it? And so you start to bring joy to your life, and you start to envision what it's going to play out to be. And then again, when you're making those decisions, remember, choice A, choice B. Choice A makes sense, but now choice B gets me to where I'm going. It matches my postcard from the future. So start jotting things down, start writing out what you want, what you don't want, share it with your co-owner, and just come up with a plan so that when we meet, I can know where you are and where you're going. So you now know where you are and where you're going, hopefully. Okay. Now, how do you get there? Okay. I know it's tough. You got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of worries. You got a lot of anxieties and all that stuff we talked about at the beginning of the webinar. Uh, and yes, we do need to seek counsel, right? Because you're not an expert at all of this stuff. I'm not an expert at all of this stuff, but you need to seek counsel in each of these areas. So if you want to meet with me, I do a what's called a homeowner analysis. It gives you plenty of clarity. I'm not saying you have to meet with me, but meet with somebody and talk about these things, right? Where you stand today, I can help you with this. If you don't want to do it yourself, we can do it together. We can talk about relocating out of the area if that's where you want to go. I know a lot of realtors in a lot of different areas and a lot of seniors communities in those areas, but don't follow the kids. Do it because I don't know what reason it might be, but I can help you understand that. I can help you understand the different types of retirement communities out there. On our website, we have a list of 200 different communities in the 10 surrounding counties. And it shows you if it's a buy-in, if it's a month to month, if they have independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing, and memory care on site. Um, we can just talk about all sorts of things as far as your real estate goes, how you're holding title, should you buy first, should you sell first, real estate 101, selling your home as is, how's the marketing going, what's the pricing like, what's the timeline like. And so if you go to stayergohomeowner.com and you go to the appointment tab, then we can get together and talk. Okay, so there's also more counsel you're going to need to seek because I'm not a financial planner. So there's two sort of financial planning avenues you can take. There's the financial planning at the retirement community, and then there's the financial planning with a certified financial planner. I'm going to talk real briefly about the retirement community financial planning spreadsheet that Aaron has to help you decide if you will or will not outlive your funds. And this spreadsheet takes into consideration your age, your life expectancy, right? Using actuarial tables, maybe you 105, but you'll see what happens at 80, what happens at 85, what happens at 90, and how your funds are doing that, but you're still okay. She's going to predict, or the spreadsheet is going to predict, how many years you're going to be in independent living, how many years you're going to need assisted living, how many a little bit of skilled nursing sprinkled in there, and maybe memory care. Then she's going to talk about the different costs of the different apartments, cottages, large cottage, small cottage, one bedroom apartment, two bedroom apartment, and what those fees and monthly fees are to get in. She's going to ask you about your income and your expenses and your liquid assets to make sure that you can afford to do this. And you'll talk also about your rental properties and your vacation homes. And this will all be spelled out because you've already done your where are you and where you're going kind of stuff. And then she's also going to need to know how much your home is actually worth in today's crazy market, as well as how much you're going to have to spend on capital gains taxes. And so I can figure that all out for you. I can give you what's called a comparative market analysis. It's a CMA, and my CMAs actually have the capital gains built in because that's hard to figure out. And don't use this program called Zillow. It's like you punch your address in and it tells you supposedly the price of your home. It's never accurate at all. It could be up to $200,000 to $300,000 off. So if you want a home quote, you can go to the website. There's a little tab there. Fill it all out. Tell me how much you spent on your home, how much you purchased it for, how much your mortgage is remaining, and I'll tell you what your capital gains taxes are so that when you do go meet with Erin, you can give her the right information. Okay, now that was about the retirement community spreadsheet, but I do advise you to go and talk to an actual certified financial planner, and they're going to want to know, right, what your cash flow is, what your net worth is, what your investments are. They're also going to want to know your vision of the future, like what do you want to do? Well, let's see if you can do it. Do you want an in-home care? You want a retirement community? So take all that information, all the information that you're putting in your Stay or Go workbook and the information you've got from Aaron, and then take it to a certified financial planner and have them do a sanity check on that, because we do not want you to outlive your funds. Neither of us do, right? So they'll give you this, will you make it sort of financial plan. And then finally, Now that you know you can go, when should you go? Okay. Now, this is important because if you go too young, you might outlive your funds. If you go and wait too long, you might not be able to get in. Okay. So, when is a good time to start thinking about even needing any sort of assistance, right? Whether it's in home care or an independent living community, when you start feeling a certain way, when you need help around the house, you're at a risk for falling, you're losing track of things, you're maybe recovering from injury or hospitalization. This is just dabbling in home care, right? You're still in independent living, but there's a line that you can cross that is we don't want you to wait that long. When you do need assisted living, when you are having a physical memory decline, you're requiring assistance with your activities of daily living, right? We don't want you to wait too long because at a continuing care retirement community, that is a community that has all levels of care on campus, right? You come in the healthy, independent living front door, okay? Then you get to travel through the system because you came in the living front door, the healthy living front door. You've got your cruise ship membership and you travel through. And when you need assistance or you need to go to assisted living, you stay there on the same campus. When you need memory care, same campus. When you need skilled nursing, you're right there. But if you wait too long and you try and knock on the side door of the assisted living and say, hey, I know I should have come in healthy, I waited a little too long, they're not going to let you in because it's first right of refusal. And if everybody's going through the system and there's no occupancy available for you, then you're going to run out of options. You're going to need, not choose, to use in-home care services, right? So it's not going to get any easier as we age. Tomorrow is going to be harder than it is today. And we want you to do it sooner because you're going to have a planned life, not an unplanned life. You're going to have less stress, less cost, less surprises. And if you wait too long and you do it later, others are going to be making decisions for you. You're going to feel more stressed and rushed and expensive because the faster you go, the more expensive things are. There might not be availability at that community because there's a 2 to 3 year waiting list there. So that's your insurance policy. Get on a waiting list. I mean, even if you're not quite sure, even if you're still 50%, you should be on a waiting list. And like I said, don't wait too long because then you might not be eligible for that independent living lifestyle. So that's what we talked about today. That's our agenda. We've talked about your decisions, your present, your future, how to get there. And now I've got some thought-provoking questions for you. We got 15 minutes left. And I want you to keep track of how many times you say no. Okay, just keep track on your hands. Maybe 10 would be too many, right? 5, still fine. But are you cash flow positive every month? I hate to beat a dead horse into the ground, but this one's really important. Are you ready for physically and financially, ready for emergencies? Do you have a formal financial plan that ensures you won't outlive your funds? Make sure you're keeping track of how many times you say no. Without selling my home, okay, with what you have in investments, can I afford the cost of in-home care, skilled nursing, or memory care at a cost of maybe $10,000 to $20,000 a month? That could be $300,000 a year. More questions for you. Thought-provoking questions. Will my health stay relatively the same? Do I have that support network of friends, family, and neighbors who can ready, willing, and able to take care of me? Do I have enough social interaction, plain old fun? Do I enjoy all of this cooking, cleaning, driving, and maintaining the property? Does my current home suit my lifestyle? Has my home been upgraded to reduce the chance of falls? Does my home have that downstairs bedroom and bathroom that I really need so I don't need to live upstairs? And am I sure I want to remain isolated in my home with all sorts of creative ways of staying in your home and not going to a retirement community? Or would you rather transition to a thriving community with like-minded people? These are all people that went through the same tough decisions you went through, and they were 51% and 52%, and then they made that decision. And I even have a video on my website where I interview my past clients where they did not want to go. There was no way they were going. They were going feet first. And we talked and we decided to make the transition. And I asked them, I did a video, asked them questions after they were at the community for a while. Like, what were you thinking before you went there? What did you find that you were currently pleased with, that you didn't have any expectations of? What was the most difficult part? What would you tell somebody who's on the fence? So there's a really cool little video that most of them say, I wish I would have made the transition soon. Next step, let's get together and talk. I'll bring the Ready, Set, Go transition manual. It goes through all of these different things. I just want you to be ready. I don't want you to stress. I don't want you to wait until the last minute, right? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. And so we might as well start getting ready for that. So, well, take care, everyone.